What is up, Internet? I am Taylor. It is May 4th, 2022. So, you know, live long and prosper. Yeah, anyways, this is the Cranky Comic Book Review Show. I'm Taylor. I already said that. I review comics on New Comic Book Day. Well, my comic shop's version of New Comic Book Day, which is Wednesday. Some people get them ahead of time on Tuesday, and they get to beat me to these reviews, and they get all the views and the likes and the comments and the subscribers and all that, and I get the scraps. And you've already bought your books by the time you do this, so you're not reading this. You're not probably going to watch this and be like, oh, Taylor thinks I should do this, and then go to the shop. You've already gone to the shop. You already have your books. You already have your mind. So this is just you, for whatever god-awful reason, deciding you want to know my opinion on books. So let's get into it, huh? And I have to remember to shut my phone off before I start recording this. But anyways, worst to best, let's do it. All right, so Yelp, remember Yelp, the review site that's kind of awful and brings out the worst of humanity? Or like Google reviews or any review site where people are like, I hate hamburgers. And I went to this hamburger place and I had a hamburger and it tasted like a hamburger and I hated it. 1 star. SpiderMan 2099 Exodus Alpha. Dumbest title ever. But I don't know if I've ever read anything by Steve Orlando that I like. So I went and tried a book by Steve Orlando, and I didn't like it. 1 star. Yeah, I like the character of 2099. I remember reading, or Spider-Man 29. I remember reading when he first came out. It was entertaining. I liked Steve Lenardi, or Rick Lenardi's character design. I thought it was a very cool Spider-Man design. I kind of like the 2099 future of fighting the Megacorp. But who would have thought corporations would actually be evil? That would never happen, right? Right? Like, who can imagine a planet where the richest people control everything? That's just not. That's pure fiction. Anyway, yeah, but this is a jumbled mess. There's something called the Cabal. They're a mega mafia. I don't know, whatever. And then there's lots of weird made up words to describe this sort of future. It's just kind of a muddy, hot mess of a book. There's a great reveal at the end that's not all that great or not that much of a reveal, really, in the comic book world. And I don't like hamburgers. I didn't like this hamburger. 1 star. All right. Next, Josh Williamson. He's writing everything. He's got 4 billion books out at DC. And this is one of them. Batman. Thankfully, he's off this title pretty soon, I think. Batman number 123. Josh Williamson with, I can't remember the first name. Harry Porter, Diane Porter, Leroy Porter. I don't know, Porter on the art. Did not care for the art. And this story, I mean, there's moments where the art is great, but then a lot of this was just not great. And this is also part of the Shadow War mini event at DC. It's not much of an event, honestly. Somebody's framing Deathlock, Deathstroke for murder. And it's causing a war, and you kind of learn who's probably behind it. And then you get Clown Killer, yeah, in a really stupid costume. Like, that's just, it's a ridiculously stupid costume. Not much happens in here, and it's not great. And, like, the whole event started off okay. Like, the first issue of the Shadow War I really liked, and everything else has just kind of been like, yeah. It's kind of the Josh Williamson way, I'm finding, at least for me. I do not like his big event stuff. I like when he's solid in writing a book. Like, I like Robin quite a bit. And I actually didn't hate his previous 4 issues or whatever on this book, on Batman, when he's like kind of filling in after Tynan's hot mess. But this is doing nothing for me, this event. I don't want it to be done. Like, Deathstroke, I can't remember. Deathstroke! Jesus Christ. It's not going to turn into much. There's going to probably be some grand reveal that it was Talia al Ghul all along or something. And then it'll be over, it'll be stupid, and it'll be done, and I just want it to be over and stupid and done. Give me Zdarsky ready. Just give me like a real good writer on Batman and make it a good, solid Batman book, because this just isn't it right now. And the Clown Killer, ghost-faced mafia costume was seriously ridiculously bad. Yeah. All right, Avengers Forever, number 5. I keep forgetting this book exists. This is harmless. I don't like Tao's art on this issue at all. I don't know honestly if he was on he or they were on the previous issues, but this is like multiverse Avengery stuff, except for there's not really much Avengery stuff in here. It's just kind of Jason Aaron doing Jason Aaron's sort of weird fun thing where he likes to make alternate versions of things and have an issue, have an issue about it. And that's what this is. It's like a weird, fun Doctor Doom issue where the whole thing is pretty much Doctor Doom. Sorry, Supreme Doom, Doom Supreme. I don't know. It sounds like a combo you get at Burger King, but just pontificating on how much worse he is, or better, or more evil than all the other Dooms he's come across. And there's one Doom to rule them all by Doom means of cruelty and talking a lot. I mean, there's not much in here. You get first appearances of probably like the Man Avengers, Thing Avengers, Giant Man. I don't know. I'm losing patience with all these character names and stuff and creations. It's all right. I think there's maybe one more. I don't know how long this thing goes on. Maybe it is a forever title. It feels like forever. It seems like this series needs to get to a point at some point, and it's not right now. It's just kind of like, oh, another world, another thingy, and like maybe this is who's behind it. Whatever. It's all right. I'm just exhausted with a lot of this kind of shit. Turns out. All right. Dogs of London #1. This is Peter Milligan and our Tashida. It's mobs. It's a mob story set in the 60s for the most part, and it's interesting enough. Okay, Peter Milligan is not the one-star hamburger for me. He's either really, really on, or he's all right. And this is all right. He's got these ideas for setups and stuff, and then he just kind of takes a convoluted, muddy way to get to the setup once in a while. And that's what this is. This whole issue is a convoluted, muddy way to get to a setup. It's introducing a lot of people, but they just kind of get chucked at you, all these characters. And like the art is solid, but like there's not enough differentiation visually to like really tell what the hell's going on. And like you get all these sort of wacky mob names like Pretty Boy and Danny Two Fingers and Leroy, whatever. Again, names, characters. And like you sort of get a story, sort of, but it is loose and kind of again, it's a kind of hot jumbled mess in here until the last page where like get the sudden reveal that should have been more exciting and paced differently. And and even still, it's not even like the full setup. It's just kind of like the setup to the setup. I think, I hope. It's not interesting enough for me to keep going with it. This cover, there's a run on like bloody dog covers lately, right? This looks like Dog Days or Good Boy or Good Dog or I don't whatever. This is why I hear people for my well enunciated, extremely well thought out reviews, right? That you've already picked up these books. You're like, well, that was stupid. So hopefully you agree that was kind of stupid. All right. Next we have Obi-Wan, which I don't know, volume, whatever, don't know, whatever. And I picked this up because it's Star Wars Day. And figure I had to have at least one Star Wars book. And a new Obi-Wan trailer dropped today. It looks all right. And this book just dropped. I was like, well, I should probably get it because it's going to have first appearances in it. And I'm a speculator. There probably is first appearances, and I don't know. You can't. If anyone actually can keep up with every single first appearance in all these Star Wars comics, bully on you, because I can't do it. And I also give up a lot on them because they tend to not be great. This is Chris Cantwell writing. He's done some good stuff. He's done some mediocre stuff, and this falls into the mediocre camp. It's a framing device. There's a framing device where like Obi-Wan's reminiscing on stuff for not a really great reason, just because there's a storm coming, and it's a tale from his childhood with a moral lesson. But it's a really weird story, not all that exciting. And the moral lesson is like I don't understand the Jedi point of this whole thing, other than like, well, that's all right. That was kind of what happened, I guess. I'm guessing it's gonna be a setup that pays off further down the line with like a villain reveal is my guess. Don't hold me to that because I'm not going to keep reading it. but I don't know. It's an interesting first issue. Actually, no, it's not. That's the problem. It's not that interesting of a first issue. I love the art in the first like bit of the story where it's old Obi-Wan. Then it switches to a kind of weirdly cartoony style for the kids, and the flashback sequence, and it's all right, I guess, but that's all it is. I mean, it feels like they're writing this just because they have to write it because the series is coming out. And that's the Marvel Star Wars way right now. Just keep churning out shit. And at some point, I want them to stop churning out shit and just make something great. And this is definitely not it. This is just kind of the engine keeps on churning into butter. Whatever. Firepower. This is probably the weakest issue of Firepower for me. Now, that's not saying it's bad. There's some great art by Chris Samney in here. Some big two-page spreads. You kind of learn the stake of what they're up against this time, or what the stake is growing into. But other than that, it's even for Firepower, where not a ton necessarily happens, it's usually pretty action-packed, and there's a little bit of action in here. But it's actually light on the character action, heavy on the world action, and it's fine. Fine plus. I will keep going with this. I've been enjoying Firepower, and I like the story, and I like the stakes. I like the fast martial arts action with a fantasy twist, and I like that it's not extremely dialogue heavy. I like all of that. And it's just kind of this issue. It was all right. It was solid, but it's not fantastic. There have been better issues of it than this. Even this cover is kind of like, it's all right, right? It's not the best. Yeah, it's fine. Maybe it's just one of those days. I don't think it is, though. I think it's one of those days for comics, and not for me. My reviews never change based on my feelings. Anyway, next, Flashpoint Beyond. There's folks that make these preview vids, right? And they like most anticipated books of the week, and I don't do that for a couple reasons, because they tend not to work out. And this is what, or they tend to, once I have the book in my hands and I read it, I'm like, well, that definitely wasn't where I would have guessed it would be. And in some cases it's bad, and in this case it's actually good. I almost didn't get this because I'm, in case you didn't realize from earlier, I'm pretty sick of event kind of shit. And this is another sort of event setup, but it's Jeff Johns doing the writing. It's Thomas King, Bruce Wayne's, dear old dad in an alternate universe that has got nothing to really live for, and it's kind of a cruel ass version of old like Crank. It's sort of like Deathstroke and Batman. They got together and were just kind of cruel and had nothing to lose and killed a lot of people. But I like this. I will keep this up. I like what Jeff Johns did in this issue. I like his kind of evil Thomas King. I've not read a lot of the original Flashpoint stuff, and so I don't know like how on character this is or anything on brand or on whatever it is. But I keep saying but. I'll work on that. This is good. This is fun. This is evil. This is dastardly. You get this dastardly character, which I tend to like these dastardly superheroes that'll do anything to get what they want, and they're not necessarily all that heroic in the process. So yeah, if you want something that's not Crisis or not what's the other one? What the hell? Shadow War. Jesus, fuck! I hate these event names. Flashpoint Beyond. Better than I thought it would be. Fine plus. Bordering on fairly good. There's actually some other better stuff out this week than I thought. So that's why this isn't higher. But, I mean, we're getting into the pretty good territory. All right, next. Little Monsters, number 3. This is where this book is finally sort of getting somewhere. By getting somewhere, I mean it has dialogue. And it has a tribal discussion. This is vampires at the end of the world. Little vampires. Little monsters, as it were. I don't like that logo. But I like the cover. And I like Dustin Nguyen's art. Dustin Nguyen is black and white in here, and it's great. Like playing with halftones and inks and stuff, and not his normal, maybe not the full painted cover style like this is, but I'll work on the butt thing, people. I just noticed myself saying it. Sorry. Solid. This is the best issue of Little Monsters thus far, and it's ramping up. There's only, I think, 2 to go, so I think it's going to have to keep ramping in order for it to be upper echelon Jeff Lemire. But it's probably middle of the road Jeff Lemire, which is still better than a lot of other comics out there. Lemire compared this in an interview to post-apocalyptic Lord of the Flies, and that is kind of what it is. There's these like vampire kids that are kind of been left to fend for themselves at the end of the world, and they come across something that like changes the status quo, and that's what's dealt with in here. And you have a splitting of the beliefs of these kids or what they think they should do, and this is finally getting, I think, to the point of the book. There's an ending that like makes you wonder what exactly is going to happen. Gets me intrigued enough to keep going with it, and yeah, I am now enjoying this book. It had a fairly weak start. It had a better second issue, and it's an even better third. So it's going in the right direction. It is not great yet, but it is not shabby. All right, another one I didn't expect to actually like, and I don't know why I even picked this cover. I forgot I had this on my pull list. I probably wouldn't have grabbed it, and it was just in the stack, and I forgot about it. Like my LCS owner hands me a stack of books and is like, "Here's your pull list." So at some point I pulled this. But anyways, Metal Society #1, Humans versus Robots, Robotech, Robo nonsense. Fist fight. It's ridiculous as far as the premise goes. But it's a society where robots have taken over the world and humans are their slaves. That could never happen. That's not the Matrix plot at all or anything else, right? That's totally unique. There's no such thing as totally unique. It's either unique or it's not. So, yes, this is not unique in that premise. It's a solid setup, though. I like what they've done with the main character, and I like, even don't hate how how they are telling this story. It's Zach Kaplan, who's solid on the writing, and then Guilherme Balbi, whose art is really pretty decent in this. There's some cross-panel stuff that I don't necessarily love normally, but the way this story is written, it doesn't matter how you read those pages. There's mirroring to it, so you can either read it the way you should or across, and you're fine. It's a lot of background in this and a lot of setup. It's not. It's going to depend upon where this one heads next. It has got me enough where I will get issue #2, and we'll see, because it could either be really good or it could go off the cliff next issue. But this issue is a decently good setup issue, and you kind of learn why the robot boxing match is going to happen, and you learn a bit of enough backstory where you're kind of hooked. At least I was. I do think they could have had a little more resonance to the backstory and a little more expounding upon why the main character, the main human character, is going to do what the main human character is going to do. That's awkward. That said, decent. I wouldn't be surprised if the next issue focused on the robot. We'll see. But I'm going to pick up issue #2, at least. So, Metal Society #1, not bad. We got 3 books left. It's a short week. It was not a ton out, thankfully. Just my wallet needed a break. Righteous Thirst of Vengeance, what is this? Man, this is a hard one. #7, Sparse. And I've liked this series from the get-go. I think that Andre Lima Araujo's art is carrying this to some degree. Remender is really hands-off and very minimal with the dialogue. And the writing is all done, the storytelling is all done visually. And it's great as far as that goes. I still have no real idea what the hell's going on or why these things are happening necessarily. I am along for the ride, though. The art alone would have me probably in on this, but the story itself is actually pretty compelling as far as you want to know what's the main character's deal, what's going on with the people in the life of it, and then why is everyone after it, and the art, just the random page. It's straightforward storytelling. You're not going to get anything super dynamic. Clean lines, though, and minimal, like I said, minimal dialogue, and just compelling. You could probably trade weight it. It might read better as a trade. It's a very quick read because it is so light in the dialogue, and you're just kind of visually looking over the page without having to have your brain process a whole lot of. I mean, this is probably one of the heavier dialogue pages in the whole book. So there's not a lot to process there as far as that goes. And it might feel better in a trade where you can just sort of sit with the whole volume and let it all sink in. It's got a little bit of Jeff Darrow to it and a little bit of Frank Quitely as far as the clean line work goes. Not anywhere near as detailed as those guys tend to draw things, but I love the art on this, and it's been a fun book thus far, and it continues to be fun. All right, speaking of gorgeous books that are fun and mostly setup, not really, we weren't just speaking of that, but I did stick in earlier, people. Twig #1 by Scotty Young and Kyle Strom. Scotty Young is on the writing on this, although I think the character design might be Scotty Young as well. I am not sure. It looks like it could be a Scotty Young creation as far as that goes. Kyle Strom's art is gorgeous in this. It is very bright, very vibrant, and the world being built through the art is pretty fantastic. This is just a sample page of a giant tongue getting rolled out, and it's awesome. Bright, vibrant colors. It's kind of let me see who's on the colors really quickly. I should have probably Okay, so coloring by Jean-Francois Baulot. I'm probably butchering that. I apologize. Yeah, that coloring is doing quite a bit as far as the quality of this visuals. And now Kyle Strom's inks and pencils are great as well. Uh, and the character design's cute, and it's the start of an incredible journey. It feels kind of Hobbit-ish. Feels kind of it's been compared to Bone by Jeff Smith, which is a bit of that. And also I'd say it's probably more like Kanto, although I like this a lot more than the first issue of Kanto. And yeah, you're not going to get a ton in the way of like story development in this, and I think it's only 5 issues, which is a little worrisome. Yeah, a little bit. But there's an ending to this issue that's like, oh well, okay, that's going to be something. And there's that, and it's as of right now, it doesn't feel like there's like giant world-shattering stakes in here. That could change. And not every story needs world-shattering stakes. I like the banter between Twig and this little fella, whose name I don't remember. But there's banter. It's great. There's body humor. There's, I don't know. It's just a fun book. It really is. It's I'm gonna pick it up. I know it's been ordered like 140,000 copies or something. So you probably already have it. Let me know if you've read it. Let me know if you agree with this, or if you're like, well, I don't get this one. Just leave me a comment down below. And while you're at it, hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, all that stuff. I am trying to get to 1,000 followers just for my own sake. I probably won't get there because I keep losing followers every week. Turns out when I open my mouth, I lose followers. I should just sit here and just nod and smile and look pretty and at least not lose followers. Anyways, favorite book of the week. One Star Squadron number 6. I don't know anyone else that's reading this. This is Mark Russell on the writing, and Sean Lieber? I don't know, Leroy Lieber? I've said Leroy like 14 times in this interview, or this episode, but I can't remember the first. Cannot remember the name of the artist for the life of me. Steve Lieber. There we go. Again, clean, easy to follow storytelling art-wise. This has been kind of a satirical take on superheroes as a corporation and corporations in general, and like life-work balance and meaning of life that beyond work, or if work is what gives life meaning. And it's a surprisingly poignant end to this. I was not expecting the ending to be what it was, and it's a meditation by Red Tornado, who's not a human character, on the meaning of everything, and what it all means, and whether or not it's all worth it, and the value of friendship. And yeah, I know it sounds very trite when I put it that way. I recommend this book. I think it's my favorite book of this week. I've liked the series from the get-go, and I really think it stuck to landing, which I wasn't sure it was going to do. Because it did start off as just kind of a farcical look at a corporation, and it's kind of evolved into a little bit more than that, with some deeper meaning and with some deeper concepts behind it. So give this a shot. You can probably get this on DC Unlimited online fairly easily in the future. I don't think it's going to be anything that's hard to find. I don't know if they're even going to... They'll probably collect it. DC collects everything, so, and you can probably get it fairly cheap in that way, too. It's not going to change the world, but it's a solid story. It's not going to even have probably any ramifications for the DC universe, because it's just kind of these characters that are not being used and utilized. I think it's set in continuity technically, but that doesn't mean anything. So I just dig it, and I've dug it from the get-go. If you want to just read something that's not your normal superhero fare, but sort of set in the superhero world, well, I'd recommend One Star Squadron. It's my favorite book this week. So it was an okay week. I mean, I think these two were the standouts for me, and Righteous was a good third, and then after that, decent. I mean, there was nothing I really, really, really hated, really, although the One Star Hamburger didn't do much for me. But other than that, it's all right. So that's about all I've got. I don't know. Don't be a dick, even if you're just always cranky. Nanu. See ya.